Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Argo contributor meeting. I'm filling in for Leo this time around. And let me know if my sound at any point gets awful because I'm in a loud environment. So don't want folks just not hearing what I'm saying because it's too loud. Been a while since I've done this, but if I recall correctly, we start off by checking in with the folks who are on rotation for our primary and secondary triage folks. So Pasha and Ishida.
Hi, Michael. So from my side, I have only one thing. I'm sending a pull request in chat. Could you please open it?
Yep.
Yes. It's pretty small, but I think it's important to support such option. And I wanted to ask if you have any objections to me to review and merge this pull request if it looks fine. I
I think
mean,
this
I'm
has
more asking.
been,
Mhm.
I remember commenting on this when it's been around for a long time. And I thought when I last read it, I was like, oh, this is intuitively just a good idea. And it just needed like hands to work on it. So yeah, no objections for me. If you like it and the PR looks good, I say ship it.
Yeah, I'm not from code perspective, but more from feature perspective, asking if no objection to support it. So I personally think it's worth to have such.
Interesting. So you'd rather not let folks set the force equals true. There's one specific use case this was really intended to solve, and I forget what that use case was. So I'm trying to catch up on what problem this was solving. Pasha, do you want to explain like what concerns you about adding the force true sync option?
I took first issue, and first issue was like just like to extend our sync options list because of some specific use cases that person needed. I think it's helpful in case if you just want to all the time to force your auto syncs, like all the your synchronizations, and it was it's led not from me. It came not from me, but from community from like issues, and that's why I'm asking if no objection to it.
Uh, no objection for me. Like, if they're obviously setting force equals true can cause troubles for people, but like at least they're opting into it. This bothers me a bit.
But I
Someone's
think
use
they know
case.
what they're doing in case if they applying it.
This person's using an application set to inject secrets, which is a bad idea. No one should do it. But
Mhm.
let's see. But with immutable types like job or cron job to update their image spec to newer images. Need force. Okay, so someone wants a job on every sync. It's weird that they're not just using a sync plug. For cron job, fine. They're updating their image spec. But on a cron job, you can update the image spec to newer images. That's a mutable field. I don't know. I'd have to read back through this. Top level, I'm not super concerned about it. I don't mind adding a feature. I do worry about folks maybe following anti-patterns, but to me
Mhm.
that's fine. They choose to shoot themselves in the foot, that's okay.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's around same as to do replace, right? Like you should just know what you're doing when you're applying replace option.
Yeah, I I agree with that. Okay,
Hmm.
as far as I'm concerned, this is good to go. Does anyone else have any thoughts on force equals true as a sync option or resource sync option, I guess?
Yeah. Another stuff that I saw and in few in few discussions, people asked about like what this or that sync option means. And actually, I found that we have description of each sync option, but not like in table, like not structured in one place. And like the question if you think it's worth to add to support like the docs that will include all the sync options and what they mean.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we have a lot of things that could be centralized in vars annotations. I think sync options would be a really good thing to have a docs page or a section of a docs page just to list them all and describe them.
Yeah. Okay, so I will take it. So that's it from my side for now.
Cool, thanks. Let's see, Ashita had secondary. I don't see Ashita online, so we will go ahead to picking out primary and secondary for next week. Does anyone really want to pick up primary?
Can you hear me okay?
I can. Hey, Jonathan.
Hey, yeah, I'll take primary. Haven't done it in a long while.
Want anyone for secondary? See, and for folks who aren't super familiar with the primary secondary triage system, secondary is meant to be sort of like if you're a newer contributor and you have time to just kind of look at new issues and reply and like get details from folks. That's basically what it is. It's not meant to be a super high pressure role. So if you haven't done it before, feel free to grab this one. All right. Note takers. I'm going to run down the list and see who hasn't done it for a while. Abhishek, do you have any time? I thought Abhishek.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I can take it, Michael.
Sweet, thanks. And I think this week I'll be able to keep a little bit closer eye. So if you don't have as much time, I'll be able to take up some of the slack. Cool. For next topics, let's see. Looks like someone updated the stats, so those are there for anyone who wants to peruse for discussion. Oh, we've got quite a list. Cool. Pasha's Regina. What do we got?
Yeah, this was something that we ended up having a customer case for. I think Marcus is like our customer, like Red Hat. So he is having an issue with using like private OIDC repo application sets, customize OCI registry, Azure Container Registry. I'm not 100% sure if Customize supports his use case. It might be a customized problem from what I'm seeing. But some people are able to use it with Customize, but I don't think this specific case is supported by Customize. I'm just trying to see if anyone has like more information about this, if there's any efforts to support this in the future.
So I actually don't know much about the credential passing mechanism that we use with Customize. So obviously, if you got a private Helm chart, you need some way for when we run Customize build, that information to be passed in and made available to Helm. I don't know anything about that mechanism, but it wouldn't surprise me if OCI had just been kind of missed.
Yeah, he says it is able to like connect, but he's getting, I think, if you scroll down, he's getting some kind of like actual like forget the actual error. 1 second. I have like 1,000 tabs open.
No worries. It's in this big long. Yeah, I see 401 unauthorized.
Yeah.
From Azure CR.
But he can pull it locally.
Sure. Okay. I don't know if we store, I don't think we store like all the Helm credentials just in the repo server pod in a common place, because then we couldn't do like per repo or per app repo scoping. So I think that has to be passed like via nvars when we invoke customize. But that's
Yeah,
a guess.
yeah. I think there was a workaround for that, like storing it in the Helm config home envar.
Sure.
But I think he was kind of against that workaround because it's not very like cloud native friendly, like not good for like a production setup, like reusability and stuff like that. So I think he didn't like that workaround.
I agree with that instinct. The other thing is it means an application is only supposed to be able to deploy from certain repos. And if you have global config or global credentials set up in the repo server, Argo CD has no way to enforce the app project that is restricting an application to certain repos.
Yeah. They're
Yeah,
kind
I
of
think
stuck because they basically have to stop using Customize right now. Like if they don't use Customize, there's I think ways around it, but yeah, they aren't like happy with any of the workarounds, especially when there's like multiple private OCI registries coming into it. So
yeah, I mean, it's the use case we want to support. I think that I mean, I know Ashita's very busy, but Ashita is pretty familiar with the repo server code. She might have a little bit of insight into where to start looking for that credential passing mechanism and trying to figure out how it's broken.
okay. Yeah. There was another workaround that said to edit the Argo CD repo server to set read-only root file system false, and then exec to it and create docker JSON, inject credentials using a Kubernetes secret and volume mount. I think this is also something that they don't really want to do.
Yeah, similar workaround just via Docker and like the OCI pull versus Helm. Either way, it's a global credential that you really don't want to have to set up.
Yeah.
Okay, that's where I'd check first. I'd also ping Justin at Acuity and just ask if he knows anything about Helm charts and customization. I know he did a deep dive recently on OCI repos in our native Helm support. Maybe he got into the Helm charts and customized support too, but I'm not sure.
Okay, I'll check with both of them and see if they have any ideas. I just wanted to make sure that no one else knew more about this before I just tell this person, like, sorry, it's not possible right now, but.
Right, it should be possible. It's, yeah, something's just broken there, I think that's my instinct anyway.
Yeah, and it might be an issue with Customize, but
fair.
Yeah. Okay. I'm good with that then. Thank you.
Yep. Josh, what you got?
All right, so the next one, and unfortunately, this is my daily slot. This slot is very unfortunate for me, but basically, something.
Let's see. Generate prototype. So does this end up just injected into the Swagger doc, Josh?
Yeah.
Okay. And how's this usually end up being consumed?
I mean, I think I just end up reading Swagger doc because I spend a non-trivial amount of time dealing with APIs.
Fair.
My assumption is that Swagger consumers surface it sometimes, but I generally am reading them raw.
fair. That's reasonable. I'm not at all opposed to adding this. I could see how someone,
The
yeah.
biggest complaint is line 106, because the wiki is closed apparently, and so it's like,
I'm not aware of us having a wiki anymore. Yeah, I've got this fun thing on my Mac these days where it doesn't want to copy to the clipboard.
I've run into issues with clipboard not working quite often.
Great. Yeah, it looks like we just straight don't have a wiki. I mean, if we had a docs page, we could link here instead. It could be
Yeah, I don't care where it goes. I want the thing.
fair. I mean, I'm in favor of it. If you can find a docs page that you like, obviously this is an old PR, so you'll want to ping us because we're never going to see this if you update it. But yeah, I'm for this. I think we need a comment here too, don't we? We need a comment? No, we don't. I'm silly. It sounds weird. Yeah, if you update this, drop a link in the contributors channel, and I'd be happy to merge.
Okay. I mean, the email thing, yeah, I don't know. I will probably update that because I think there's actually a new RFC with corrections about what you're supposed to use.
Okay.
For that, but yeah.
Cool.
If anyone has a recommended page, or maybe I'll be forced to actually create a page for it.
I think we actually have a page in the docs that speaks specifically about our Swagger doc. But if not, yeah, it wouldn't hurt.
There is a page called API docs.
That sounds right.
But it literally doesn't have the word updates in it. It is, as with most pages, not terribly helpful.
Oh, come on. Our docs are better than that, Josh. Cool.
My read on this PR, if I may, is that it seems like your goal is actually just to update this page and then send people to it, because right now it sends to a page that doesn't exist. So it seems like to complete this PR, you would want to update the docs page for the Swagger API anyway, and then change the URL and the.
Yeah. I guess on that side, I would need some content.
So help me with the purpose of, so for contact, API support, sure. Is the purpose of this URL literally just to send someone somewhere that kind of explains to them about the API?
Sorry, it's been a long time since I wrote this, as people are aware. All right, there was a ticket 4620. Right, so we really should be starting here. Can you click on the Zoom link?
File.
Right, so it's, yeah, so basically, I don't actually know that that's the right, because the API docs page that we've found, that's one tab to your left, is in principle more like how to use the API docs, or how to use the APIs, and I'm looking for more like, how do you regenerate the API docs, which is actually different.
Yes, I feel like this link is probably more meant to be about how to use than how to generate or update. I think that what you're really looking for is like a developer experience, like contributor documentation page about, are you talking about like maybe changing a description field, like the name of a query field?
Yeah, I from memory, and I have none since this is like over 3 years ago. Basically, the API was probably slightly wrong, which is my experience with everyone's docs. I'm currently have a lot about that, and so the goal was to be able to say, oh, there's something wrong with this API documentation and I want to change it. Or
Sure.
there's no documentation on this API and I want to give it some, which is also what I'm doing with GitHub right now.
There. So we've got an entire like section in the docs for contributor E-type stuff. I would love to see a page that is about maintaining the API. Because there is some like knowledge that you're just not going to have right off the bat. Like, where are the structs that represent the API queries? Where are the proto files? How do the proto files generate the Go files, generate the Swagger doc? As well as like there are hacks that we have for where the Swagger doc that gets generated is just wrong. So we use JQ to hack that and fix it. I do think that a page collecting all of that information would be helpful.
Yeah, from memory, it was a royal pain for me to figure out how to do it, and I still don't know that I actually figured out precisely how to do it. And there were other quirks about like what platforms you had to be on, if I recall, and things like it was. I mean, I'm haunted by this, and I haven't touched in 3 years.
I would try to scope down as much as possible because developer onboarding experience for Argo CD it needs a lot of work, and if we try to tackle that all at once, we're not going to be able to actually make any movement.
Yeah, that's why the PR was simple as opposed to trying to boil the ocean. It was definitely.
Yeah. I would start with a page that literally just says where are the proto files, where are the types files, and what is the make command that we use to update the Swagger file. From there, I think people can kind of wander around the code and find the nitty-gritty details.
Where are the proto files? Where are the
Types files, the Go structs.
structs?
And finally, what's the make target? Because the make target, if you find that, then you can find the hack file that does the JQ hacks. It gives you somewhere to start.
All right, fine. I've made notes to that, and we'll see if I can actually manage to do that maybe next week.
Sweet. You're a busy dude, Josh. I appreciate the little time you can, every bit of time that you can put in. Alrighty, next up, sync is not working with ignore difference. Oh yeah, this one. I love this one.
Yeah, hi Michael. Yeah. So this issue has been around for a while, and we also have a customer who's facing this as a blocker. And yeah, their use case is pretty much same, that an image gets updated with some image stream, and when they use this respect to ignore differences, even if they have a array of say environment variables that they're updating, that also doesn't sync. So like the entire block. So if any field, if we're ignoring any field in the array, the rest of the fields also don't sync up.
Yes. So I did a deep dive on this at some point because it was bothering me too. What I found was that when we actually apply the ignore differences, we are using generic JSON patch libraries, which destroy the information about specifically which fields we want to ignore. It makes traversing into arrays safely impossible. So Blake made a valiant effort to write up a PR to improve the patching logic. I think that the ultimate fix is going to be abandon the generic JSON merge libraries, patch libraries, and instead use Kubernetes strategic merge patch libraries, because they are able to take into account merge keys like name on the ports array. But when someone finally tackles this bug, they're going to need their favorite energy drink or two, or a couple cups of tea, because it's non-trivial, and you're going to be ripping out the existing patch code and replacing it with an entirely different library.
Okay. Are there currently any good known workarounds that you might be aware of that work well?
Oh, let me think about that. I feel like I come up with some hacky things at some point. I feel like sometimes you can sort of really work on the JQ path expression and get something that works well enough. Usually, I think what I've ended up doing in the past is just targeting an entire block and being aware that, like, if I'm going to update that, I have to do it manually because we can't traverse safely into an array. So yeah, basically, I think the answer is basically no. You either have a terrible user experience or you have a path that simply doesn't work intuitively until we
Also,
fix the underlying problem.
Also have maybe, not sure if that was discussed already in this issue, but maybe another suggestion that could be tried is, Michael, can you scroll down to the,
Sure.
yeah, here, where the diff is configured a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, here. Thank you. So here you're using JQ path expression. I wonder if we configure it with managers, because this is a different way to ignore difference, is by specifying the field manager, and that by the time the diff is calculated, it uses the library Michael is referring to. So I think it's interesting to give that a try, but the strategy is different. So the strategy in this case is ignoring anything done by that specific manager. Not sure if it is compatible with this use case. The only thing I'm saying is I think the diff logic will be calculated correctly by the time it applies, if that is used.
You're suggesting something managed fields, like using.
Yeah, in the same place where you have JQ path expression, there's different strategies for ignore diffs. Yes, thanks, Michael. Yeah, diff customization. If you scroll down, there are different diffs configuration, and there's this one Michael's highlighting here, manage field manager, which is pretty much saying ignore differences done by this manager. Not sure if you're familiar with the server-side apply thing that adds the field manager structure in every Kubernetes resource. So basically, this is saying whatever is done as part of this manager, ignore. And this uses the library Michael is referring to, which takes into consideration the schema and should work well with arrays. But as I said, I don't know if this is really possible in this particular use case.
Yeah, actually, in our case, like the one Soumya is talking about, so we were able to unblock the customer by suggesting server-side apply. We did not even have to use the managed field. But the problem is that they have a requirement that they want to have the kubectl annotation. They don't want to go with the server-side apply way. So that's one of the blockers.
Yeah.
Otherwise, yeah, this is a good suggestion.
Yeah, we did try that, but they're not comfortable using it.
They could. It's a little silly, but they could use a mutating webhook to hack the last apply config back onto their resource on server-side apply, if they just really want that to be there. But that's a lot of work.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
So
How about
sorry.
yeah, sorry.
Go on.
Soumya, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No. I wanted to just discuss the existing PR. So
Yeah, so I was just asking, is there a way that we can expedite the existing PR? Like if we can pitch in, add some tests or verify the PR. Anyways, like our goal is to get this PR out as soon as possible. So any help that is required, we are very much open for that.
yeah.
So
Like,
in my opinion, Go ahead, Samai.
No, yeah, I mean, I think you explained that we'll need the strategic merge patch, but if for the time being this PR does the job, is it possible for us to consider this?
I would not merge this PR. As you can see, like Blake went into a lot of effort trying to cover all the use cases, but the code is just unwieldy because it's trying to do something that it fundamentally has to be handled in a different way via Kubernetes strategic merge patching. What this PR gives us is a fantastic set of tests which cover, like Blake literally just read the issue thread and turned people's requests into tests. So I think steal this part, open a new PR and implement the strategic merge patch based ignore differences is the way to go here. And it's a time consuming task. No one's going to be able to do this in 2 or 3 hours. This is a sprint. But a lot of the work is done since the tests exist already.
Totally agree with Michael. The tests are great, but the strategy implemented is not direction we want to go in. And introduce all sorts of different issues. So the correct solution is really leveraging that library, strategic merge diff.
And whoever eventually implements it deserves a beverage of your choice at the next KubeCon where I see you. Because like you say, it affects a ton of people. It's been around forever, but it's non-trivial. And I'm happy to support in any way I can that's not like actually diving in and fixing the code, because I just don't have that level of time right now, but I'm happy to offer guidance, glance at PRs, things like that. Cool. Good to go?
Oh, yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Frank.
Yep. All right. Let's see, this is taking me here. We got tokens on Kubernetes short-term certificate. Similarities and stuff looking at clusters. Jorge, are you here to give us a quick rundown on this?
Yeah. Okay, I'm here just for asking because not totally unrelated with Argo CD. Our provider has changed the kubeconfig authentication way from token to secret to certificate. It's totally unrelated with Argo, but when suddenly Argo stopped working, and I was checking the code, and in theory, if we have a bearer token based on the comment in the code, Argo CD should register the bearer token from the created service account. That's what the comments say, but that's not what the code says. Because in the code, if any parameter related with the certificate or if by certificate is available, automatically use the certificate instead of the bearer token. At this point, I wrote in Slack just asking and pointing the place because actually it's totally ignoring the RBAC that we can build around the Argo Manager service account, because the certificate is totally unrelated. It's the certificate that I provide. If it's admin, it's admin. If it's my own, it's my own. But the service account that Argo CD is creating in the target cluster is totally ignored. And I don't know if this is desired, is a not discovered side effect, or just for asking before doing something. Because the comment is confusing to me.
Yeah, the comment doesn't make sense. If we have cert data or we have key data. Oh, if we don't have cert data or if we don't have key data, then we use bearer token. But if we do have it, we don't use the bearer token. This looks just wrong. So set bearer token only if the key cert data is absent. Insert credentials. Event presence. Insert credentials.
I have just opened Pandora's box.
I feel like what it's saying is, so bearer token will preferentially be used for auth. So it feels like what it's saying is, if Argo CD sees that the config contains a bearer token, it'll ignore the presence of key cert credentials. I don't know. I need a clearer mind to read this comment and understand what it's saying.
My point, yeah, no, don't worry. My point is that if would be doable just adding a parameter to enforce the bearer token, because for us will solve a problem. Something like, okay, enforce or I do know that certificate is there, but even that I want to use the service account that Argo CD has created on the target cluster.
Yeah, I would just start writing up a PR to either clarify, well, you can't just clarify documentation. I would add whatever flag you need, document it, and then let's look at the PR at the next contributor meeting or async, and decide if it makes sense. Because I agree, this is kind of opaque and difficult to understand. Yeah, pop open a.
One question I have here. This code you're sharing is part of the command line utilities. But in the Slack channel, you're saying your Argo CD lost connectivity with some clusters.
Yeah.
Have you tried re-adding the connection in Argo CD with those clusters?
Yeah, and the problem of losing connectivity is not related with Argo CD directly. It's just because our provider has swapped from tokens to short life certificate. So once we didn't detect that the Argo CD swap from token to certificate, and once the certificate expired, automatically and obviously Argo CD lose the connectivity to the.
So the behavior you're having is you have connectivity for a while. When the certificate expires, you lose the connectivity. That's what's happening.
Yeah, and it makes sense, and it's not problem from Argo CD. Yeah? I know that it's not problem. I'm just asking about if or it would be a possibility having a parameter to enforce the usage of the token as the service account is already created there. We could have been.
But this is the part I don't understand. You're saying your provider is enforcing the certificates, but does that mean token can still be used in this case?
No, they have swapped when we pull the kubeconfig from the provider. They just have switched from bearer token to certificate. I could create my own token. I mean, I could create a service account, create a token for that service account, and use that token for Argo CD. Because it's just a matter of the kubeconfig. My point is that I found this, I can patch it on my side, but I found that the Argo Manager service account is bypassed by this line. So if I have pulled something over the Argo CD Manager for locking or limiting the RBAC, just for whatever, any reason, this line will bypass totally my RBAC because Argo CD cluster won't use Argo Manager service account. My problem is mine. I mean, I'm not trying to find a workaround for my problem. I'm just pointing this and asking desired or effect.
I'm waiting on a friend. Oh, I just want to make sure you weren't
I think I'd have to sit down and read through the code and the thread to be certain that I understand the problem. See, Alex says, can you use the bearer token without specifying certificate data? It would work, right? So if you were to manually modify the cluster config to drop the cert data, that would work, correct? That makes sense.
Could you repeat your last sentence, please?
Yeah, so if you've got the cluster config, it's got a bearer token and cert data at the same time, that's a problem. What if you just manually go and edit the cluster config, like the secret, to remove the cert data? Would that allow the bearer token to take over and do its job?
The point is that the bearer token is not registered in the cluster.
It's never been populated. That's right. So you'd have to go and manually grab it and drop it in. Sure.
Yeah.
I follow. Yeah, so it feels like a CLI misbehavior to me, or just something that's not intuitive, or the CLI completely ignore the bearer token just because cert data is present. I think the complaint makes sense. I think that probably the CLI either needs to be better documented or have an option to switch this behavior and prefer the bearer token over the cert.
I think if you literally just remove that line, then it will prefer the bearer token by default.
Yeah, but I assume that line was there for any reason. So I was just asking about adding support for skipping that and enforce the bearer token.
Yeah, I think you're probably right that this is here because for some reason someone believed that cert off was preferable when both were present. And I don't know why they thought that. And I would want to make sure we understood that before changing the behavior by default.
They don't say anything about it in the issue or the PR.
Yeah, it looks like it's a fairly unrelated PR. Yeah. Okay, let's keep discussing in Slack. It looks like maybe CLI behavior change or a flag, but I'm not sure that we could be sure in the next couple of minutes.
Okay, can you create an issue though for it?
Yeah, for sure. But before creating an issue and making a lot of noise, I just prefer come here and do a quick question. It's bigger than I expected. I will open an issue and talk about this there. No problem at all.
Appreciate it, Jorge.
Thanks.
All right, let's see if we can cover Keith's real quick. Dan, we're probably gonna have to handle yours at async.
Yeah, it won't take long. Can you hear me?
That's mine too.
You're good. What you got, Keith?
Okay, yeah. Yesterday I submitted a proposal PR to support multi-source applications in the UI. So just asking folks, especially those who have worked on the UI, to review and approve it. Yeah, in the interest of time, I'm not going to go through the proposal now, but there are three main areas that need to change. And I think one key piece is the history and rollbacks, which Jorge has already submitted a PR for. So yeah, the proposal is not, I don't believe it's controversial. I think it's very straightforward in terms of the UI changes involved. The other two parts include the new app dialog and the detailed summary page. Yeah, so this document aims to cover all the areas in the UI that needs to change. And yeah, I hope to have some of the changes for the summary details page ready soon. And yeah, so I'm bringing this up on the call so I could get feedback that the design is in the right direction. And I plan to open follow-on enhancements for the rest of the implementation.
Cool. Appreciate it, Keith. Yeah, that's awesome. Folks, please go take a look at, comment on, so we can get started on full UI experience for multi-source.
I think I'm one of the people who've actually given feedback on that. So at some point, if somebody tags me on Slack, I can try and look a little bit.
Yes, you commented on the PR. Cool. Yeah, folks, please give that a look. And we're out of time. I wanted to mention this at the top. I'll mention it real quick. Alexander Godriel, I'm sure I'm getting your last name wrong, but Alex G. and Blake Pedersen have joined Intuit and Acuity respectively this last week. So welcome to the Open Source Industrial Complex. Super excited to have them on board with R2 orgs.
Thank you.
And that's it for this week. Y'all have a good week and see you in Slack.
Thanks all.
Bye.
You all.
Thanks, everyone.